Energy Wednesday.
Okay, all right, now Sharon, be nice. That's Sharon Moriwaki, everybody listens to her.
Except it goes out the other ear.
And to her left, Tim Yao and Mark Yamamoto from Hawaiian Electric. Welcome to the show, you guys. Yeah.
Thank you.
And on the phone by Skype audio is Tim O'Connell. He's the United States Department of Agriculture Assistant State Director and Rural Energy Coordinator. I said that in one breath, by the way, Tim. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Tim.
Thank you, appreciate it.
And he joins us from what?
Hilo.
Hilo, okay. That's close to the agricultural community for sure. Okay, but before we get to agriculture, and we are going to get there, we'd like to talk to you guys about charging stations, because we have heard a rumor that Hawaiian Electric is installing all these charging stations. We need to know what you're doing now, you guys. Okay, so Tim, why don't you begin?
Okay, so if you don't mind, I'll take a step back. So in 2008, there was a Hawaii Clean Energy Initiative to try to lower the use of fossil fuels in the state. So as support for that, the Hawaiian Electric Company in 2010 introduced time of use rates to try to incentivize people and give people a break for using electricity during times that best suit the needs of our grid. A few months after that, the first major mass-produced electric vehicle was sold on the island. Then for the next couple of years, the state had funding to put in public charging, mostly level 2. So with level 2 EV charging, you can get about 12 to 25 miles per every hour you charge. So the Hawaiian Electric Company looked at this and looked at this where the charging stations were deployed, and we thought we could help contribute in charging by deploying what's called fast charging. So DC fast charging, generically we say you can get about 80% of your charge within 30 minutes. So we went to the Public Utilities Commission and asked permission to have a pilot where we could put in DC fast charging stations. So we were provided that, we were given that ability to do that for a 5-year pilot right now.
As many as you want.
No, so it's limited up to 25 sites.
Okay.
So the first site that we put in was actually on Maui, on the Maui Electric office. We have, earlier this year, we put one on Dole Plantation, so in the center of the island. And so it gets one major artery up to the north side of the island where there's very little charging. Just earlier this month, we had the grand opening for another one at Ko'olau Center. So on the other side of the island, going the other way, we just opened one over there. And next month, we hope that we're going to open one at Kapolei.
Okay.
So we totally covered for the island? I mean, you could actually drive around and not have range anxiety?
Well, no, I mean, so we're still looking at, so we have plans to also put one, so at Hawaii Kai 7-Eleven. And one of the purposes there is not only for range anxiety, but there's a lot of multifamily dwelling, what we call multifamily dwelling, multi-unit dwelling, or condos, where some people may have difficulties charging at home. So we're putting a charge station not only to extend range, but also for those customers. And early next year, we will be putting one at our office in our customer parking lot at Ward, where.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so in Kaka'ako,
For
there's
the
a lot of
public.
charging stations.
Kaka'ako.
Right? They're all public charging stations.
So as a matter of policy, why are you doing this?
So we're doing this to support transformation to clean energy. We're doing this to support the EV community, but to extend range, give access to charging to those who cannot. And we're also doing it just to provide us the ability to do some data. So DC fast charging is high power charging, and we're doing some analysis to look at the impacts on the grid. So in fact, the one at Kapolei, there will be an integrated battery system to try to reduce the amount of power coming from the grid at any given time.
with photovoltaic?
Well, no, in this particular case, we decided to de-scope it a little bit, and it's just with battery. But the idea about it is you can use with battery, you can take power from the grid at times when there is excess power.
Yeah, you can call the time.
I saw that Hitachi demonstration in Maui where they actually can like the house with storage that comes off of the EV. Well, EV is like the storage, the battery, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
So is that something that HECO is looking at as well, of how you integrate and use the storage as well as for charging yourself to drive?
Right. So Hawaiian Electric, as well as the utilities around the United States, are looking at electric vehicles as an actual grid resource. So we are looking into that. We are looking into the technology behind vehicle to grid or vehicle to home. There is technology out there, but it's a little bit early. There's standards that have to be set, and so it's not, it's only done on small scale in pilots because the standards are not passed yet.
So, but I could also put one on top of I can put photovoltaic on top of my house. I can put some kind of battery system there, and I can pass the energy into my car, my electric vehicle. I can do that myself.
Sure.
Sure.
Now, here's a question for you. We went up to Illinois Innovation Center, and we found this young entrepreneur who was setting up a kind of matching program where if you needed a parking space in a congested area, somebody would sign up to rent you at a very modest amount his parking space in front of his garage on a residential street, and you would be matched with that, and then you knew that you could use that space. So just suppose, this is a complex question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Suppose I have one of those units on top of my house, and I have a charging station in front of my house, and this young fellow in Manoa Innovation Center, instead of renting the parking space, he rents me time, okay, on that fellow who has the charging station. Can the fellow do that? Can I do that?
Yeah.
Is this something in the future? What do you think?
Well, funny you should bring that up, because one of the things that we did when we asked permission from the Public Utilities Commission for this program to deploy DC fast chargers, we also said that for this is a special case where we'll allow so-called resale of electricity. So people, they can do that. Usually it's in a commercial setting, but I know, things are changing very quickly with things like Uber, for example, and PlugShare. PlugShare actually, not for actually resale, but to
What
share.
is that exactly?
Yeah, I've never
What is
heard
that?
of
I don't know if you've ever heard of PlugShare. It's actually an app that shows the mapping, and I wanna reach out to also our state energy office, because they also have more of a map for Oahu as to where all the public chargers are.
Stations.
But for PlugShare, it could be people's homes that if they feel like they want to share their charging station when they're not home.
So this exists already.
It exists. It's been out there for quite a while.
It's a good thing we have you guys come on the show so you can
So you
sort
know
of get us
what's out
current on
there.
all these developments. We don't know about this. Okay, so the other thing is there anybody else doing what Hawaiian Electric is doing here? Is there anyone else out there that is building charging stations, fast charging stations for the public in the way you're doing it?
Actually, well, not quite, but there, for example, dealerships, Nissan, for example, they're actually, they have available, and I know at least one of the dealerships, they don't discriminate. Somebody could come in with their iMEV, even though they're not an iMEV dealer, and they can plug in. They'll let them go.
Yeah.
But of course, they're not available 24/7.
Yeah, sure.
They close up at night. They close the gate.
But these are, yours are.
Generally speaking, they are. Dole Plantation actually does. I think they do. They
Yeah.
close up their gates
After
at a
5
certain time.
o'clock.
Yeah.
So, as a business decision and a decision for the EV community
Whoever
as a
has it.
whole. Yeah, so, we felt it was very important because there's so little infrastructure, charging infrastructure of the North Shore to try to get something there. And Dole Plantation, Castle and Cook, they were very gracious to allow us to do this. And
Don't
we
you
thought it was
just
very
use
strategic.
your credit card so you can do it
Yes.
anytime?
Right.
But it
Yes,
could be
and-
24/7 unless they locked up the
Yeah,
gates. for
so,
the-
they don't allow people on their property after hours.
Well, but that could change
Right.
depending on what kind of experience you have. But let's go to the thing about the credit card. So what does it cost for me to charge my car? You got any idea about what the rates are?
So for the rate for our rate on Hawaiian Electric, it is a time of use rate. The rate right now for the mid-peak, which is generally 7 a.m. to 5 p.m., is $6.50 per session. So it's a per session charge. Early on, we made the decision, because we started this about 2 years ago, most of the vendors supported a per session charge, and we thought it was the easiest for EV drivers to understand instead of trying to bring it down to a kilowatt or something like that. So, and then it gets less during the off-peak overnight, and it's a little bit higher during the prime.
So what's the session? Is it time, or is it, once I have to leave?
Yeah, so it's either when you have to leave, or the charging station will stop itself depending on what the car tells it to do. So the car tries to manage the state of the battery for the life of the battery. So generally speaking, if your leaf, let's say, is pretty close to empty, you go up and charge. After 30 minutes, the charging station will shut off because the battery will tell it to shut off.
So it's
The EV will tell it to shut off.
so it's not even. So in a sense that if I had a lot, or the next person has, like a little that he needs, then it doesn't matter. It's just one session. It's
Right.
the same amount.
Yeah.
So if I'm almost topped off, and I'm a silly guy,
Yeah.
and I go in there and get topped off, and it takes me 3 minutes and
Right.
fast, I pay $6.50.
Yeah.
So
right now,
you got to know what you have.
You better look at the dial in the car.
And again, to sort of clarify things, this is a pilot, and part of it is R&D. We were going to report to the commission at the end of March, I think it is. And, we were collecting quite a bit of data. We even have power quality monitors on these charging stations. So, all the anomalies that we see on the power there, we're collecting all of that kind of data. So we'll be writing up a report, and, some of it will be about the uptake of all of this, and if there's any kind of issues that maybe customers have brought up and whatnot, that'll all be coming out in the report. So it's a learning experience for
Sure.
us. We're actually finding out how difficult it is to, for site hosts, even though we're saying that, the costs are covered by our recovery mechanism for this infrastructure. But there's always what's really in it for me? And if you look at the two sites so far, the site owners have said, wow, this is great, because what it does is it just creates the optics that they're doing the right thing,
Yeah. Well, and the other thing is, there's a leverage point here. It's like every time you put in a charging station, you are incentivizing X number of drivers to buy electric vehicles. You don't even know exactly what that is, but you know that it has a huge leverage effect in terms of offering lack of anxiety, a comfort about owning an electric vehicle. But I have one more question, and I have to disclose to you guys that Mark and I ran into each other on 4th Street Mall about 2 weeks ago. And we sat on a park bench there and we schmoozed, watching the sunset. And one of the things that came up in the conversation was the idea about having, you remember this, a charging station which had a sundry store next to it, some kind, 7-Eleven, something, whoever, like gas stations have now. And that way, Sharon can plug in and go inside and buy a Coke and a newspaper and sit and schmooze and, make some calls, whatever you have, waiting for her fast charge. And what, you got to have a little more land? Castle and Cook probably wouldn't mind if you did this, a little business for them. And it wouldn't necessarily have to be a Hawaiian Electric store. It could be anybody's store. You could be the landlord if that's of the land you own the land, or Castle and Cook could be the landlord. But it would be a convenience, and it would be painless because you spend the time doing something else while you're waiting, for the charge.
So as part of this pilot, we are looking for site hosts, and we are trying to concentrate on site hosts that actually have stores and businesses that will meet
Makes
those
sense, right? You attract customers.
Right, so we're not necessarily looking for places where it's an end destination where someone may be there for a couple hours, because we all know how public charging is and trying to find public charging.
Right.
DC fast charging is very specialized. You get in there for 30 minutes, you get on your way and go. So those are the type of locations we're trying to look for. And then, also Aloha Petroleum, they have a DC fast charger at some of their stores too.
That's good.
Yeah.
So you get a crossover.
So anybody who wants stores, let's say, any commercial, like shopping centers, they say, I want one. Are you gonna allow that, or how does that work?
So yeah, we're
Just call.
So actually, Mark, he's doing a lot of work right now, trying to find potential site hosts.
So anybody who wants to can.
Yeah, so they should just call us at, I think the best
that's
number to
good.
call is 543 Go EV, GOEV. Leave a message and we'll get back to you.
Call Mark.
543.
Actually, it's Jimmy. Jimmy is the.
I tried to pass the work to
Yeah.
him.
No, but.
543 what?
Yeah.
Go EV, GOEV.
Oh, good, okay.
We should put that up.
Yeah.
That's the same phone number if you want to get on the EV rate. That's the same phone number you call to enroll on the EV
543
rate.
Go EV.
I love when guys give telephone numbers. I remember the former director of taxation came to one of our programs, on taxation. Usually, you don't want to have, you have a lowest possible
Yeah, right.
profile, but he would go in front of hundreds of people and give his cell phone out.
Cell phone.
And, I'm sure he had a certain amount of problem by doing that, but they loved him for it.
Right,
And we
right.
love you for it.
Call Mark or Tim. 543 Go EV.
That's right.
Okay, anything else on this?
No, I think we about covered it, yeah.
Yeah. So Mark, would it fair to say that you agree with pretty much everything Tim said?
With Jim, what Jim said?
Jim
Yeah.
said, sorry.
Yeah, yeah,
Jim.
sure.
And Jim, was it fair to say that you agree with most of the things that Mark said?
Well, he's my boss, so the answer is yes.
I think we're on the same page now.
Yeah.
Okay, any more questions, Sharon?
Oh, I think this is great. I really am pleased that you're expanding. And what about the neighbor islands? You were mentioning neighbor islands?
Yes.
That too.
So on Maui, I think they're really trying hard to get one more. One of the things is that Hitachi has a project on Maui.
That's
It's
right.
called the Maui Jump Smart project, and they've actually deployed quite a few of these fast chargers. They've kind of taken quite a few of these spots already. On the Big Island is where there's a lot of opportunity, and I think next year we're talking about maybe 2, Hilo and Kona.
Yeah, that definitely.
Yeah,
that's
that's
just the
larger
the
distances,
landmass,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay,
Wait,
Jim
and
Yao.
Kauai, what about Kauai? One more before we say goodbye.
Okay.
Yeah, Kauai is not in our territory. That's
Oh, that's right,
Kauai Electric.
KIUC.
Yeah,
Oh, I forgot. Well, that doesn't prevent you.
Okay, Jim Yao, Mark Yamamoto from Hawaiian Electric doing charging stations, fast charging stations
Fast
for EV.
charging
We
stations.
like reports from time to time. I hope you guys
Sure.
come back.
Come back again, tell us.
Thank you.
We take a short break. We're going to switch out now. We'll be back in a minute with Tim O'Connell and also Ray Starling, who will
All
join
right.
us
Hey,
at the
Ray.
table. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Ethan Allen. I host Likeable Science on Think Tech Hawaii, and I do this because I care about science literacy in Hawaii. I want to spread the understanding that science is a vital and interesting part of everyone's life. I want to make sure the broadest possible spectrum of people understand the beauty and the value of science and realize that science plays out each and every day of their lives. I want you to understand that science is fun. So we bring onto this show each week guests who are scientists, from astronomers to zoologists, and we talk about what they do and how they do it. But most importantly, we talk about why you should care about their work, why you should see that their work has value and impact on your life. So I hope you'll join us Fridays, 1 p.m. here on Think Tech Hawaii. You can watch us via live stream. You can watch us recorded on Olelo, and you can see us each week. We hope you'll join us.
Aloha, I'm Kirsten Baumgart-Turner, and I host Sustainable Hawaii every Tuesday from 11 a.m. to 12 noon. My guests offer insights on challenging economic and environmental issues facing our state and offer innovative solutions to increasing Hawaii's long-term sustainability. Recently, we've been focusing on sustainable land development, food, and energy security. If you have a project or issue you'd like to discuss on the show or would like to be a guest, please contact me at kirstenbturner@gmail.com and tune in live weekly or view the show at your convenience at thinktechhawaii.com. Mahalo.
Aloha, this is Keli'i Akina, president of the Grassroot Institute, and I want to thank you for watching Think Tech Hawaii. We are delighted to be partners with Think Tech because it gives us the opportunity to bring to you a show every week on Monday at 2:00 p.m. called Ehana Kako. Ehana Kako means let's work together, because we believe that Hawaii will be a better place when everybody works together. And in what way? Well, at the Grassroots Institute, we research 3 basic areas, and we invite guests to come on board from across the country, the state, and the nation to talk about a better economy, a better government, a better society. Now, aren't those things we all want? Indeed. If you'd like to have the latest research in terms of public policy, as well as ways in which we can build a better government, economy, and society, then tune in every Monday on Think Tech Hawaii at 2:00 p.m. for our fascinating guests on Ehana Kako. Let's work together. I'm Keli'i Akina with the Grassroots Institute, and I'll see you then. Aloha.
Aloha, my name is Justine Espiritu, and I co-host Hawaii Farmers Series with Matthew Johnson of Oahu Fresh. We talk about Hawaii's local farmers and their supporters. In order to have a vibrant and sustainable local food system, farmers are always the foundation, but there's so many other people involved in the community that help support those farmers. So we bring those folks onto our show every Thursday at 4 p.m. We get their backstory, their history, find out a little more about them, and we find out why they love what they do and their perspective and their advice on how we can continue to have a dynamic and vibrant and sustainable local food system. So we broadcast live every Thursday at 4 p.m. And you can also catch us on ThinkTech's YouTube channel as well as Alelo 54. So we hope you tune in and join us.
So then we
Okay,
can
we're
do
back,
Tim.
we're live,
Tim
we're
is
here having a good time with Sharon Moriwaki, who everybody listens to. She's co-chair of the Energy Policy Forum, and Ray Starling of Hawaii Energy. Welcome to the show, Ray.
I'm glad to be here.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the EV session. Being
Yeah.
an EV
Yeah.
owner.
Good, that was
Ray's
good.
also an
Yeah,
EV
yeah,
owner.
yeah,
I have a trivia question for you.
yeah.
Since I know you know so much about electric vehicles, takes me 25 miles to get from Kailua to downtown and back each day, over the hill. How many kilowatt hours do you think that I use to get that 25 miles? It's 12 and a half miles either
The
way.
answer is the current in the stream is flowing at 5 knots.
You don't know, do you?
It's different too when he climbs up though.
I think it'd be a perfect time to introduce Tim O'Connell.
By the
Tell
way,
us
it's
the answer.
8 kilowatt hours.
Why?
That's just what it takes.
That's the answer.
It takes 8
Physical
kilowatt hours.
principle.
Yeah.
Is it
We
the
ought to
same
have
going
this
up
all
and
the
the same
time.
going down?
We
No.
ought to have this all the time. We ought to ask questions.
Yes, that's
trivia
right.
question?
Trivia
Awards,
question,
yeah,
right.
like they do on
And you
the
could give
airplanes.
awards.
Yeah.
You could give your awards.
Tim, I hope you forgive us for all these interruptions. We are going to talk to you soon.
Yeah, I'm still here.
There, we
You're a
see
patient
you.
man.
Now,
We see you.
he's
see
got
you
all the
now.
money, so
I
we
know.
need to talk
We
to
need
him.
to talk to
Yeah,
him.
okay, that's Tim O'Donnell, U.S.
O'Connell.
Department of
O'Connell.
O'Connell. It's one of my days. Tim O'Connell, U.S. Department of
This
Agriculture,
trivia
Assistant
question?
State Director of Rural Development
Rural
and
energy development.
Rural Energy Development and Rural Energy Coordinator. Tim, you look so familiar in your picture. I'm sure we have met. Or you have been
He's
on one
the
of our
forum.
shows.
He's
Yeah.
on the forum.
Yeah. Oh,
I'm
okay.
on the forum and I see you about every quarter, Jay.
Okay. As I said, it's one of those days.
But you're
That's why you look
you're
so
tall
familiar.
and Jay's short, so sometimes he doesn't see you.
So,
But Jay, in fairness, that picture that you're looking at is probably 15 years old. So
That's why.
Okay.
That's why.
Thank you for that important disclosure.
that's back when I had brown hair.
So Tim, what do you do as the USDA Assistant State Director of Rural Energy Development and Rural Energy Coordinator?
Well, my primary job is to bring federal funds to the state of Hawaii. And we do that through a multitude of programs. So it may probably be appropriate to actually title this session The Deep and Many Pockets of USDA Energy Programs.
Yeah.
We have
Yeah.
more than just one of our flagship programs that we provide energy funding We can provide financial assistance to almost any kind of project, renewable energy, energy efficiency, that you can imagine. We are an agency, and that's one of the myths that I want to hopefully get across to people today, that USDA is not just about agriculture. Our programs are geared toward rural communities, which the agriculture and the farm component is a small percentage of that. So a lot of our programs that we administer actually are geared to the non-ag sector, including our energy programs. Not to say that we don't work with farmers and ranchers, because we do, that's still our core business, but our agency in particular, and we primarily deal with the rural businesses and the and farms and ranches.
But it's fair to say, isn't it, that any agricultural establishment needs energy, and a farm, for example, would have absolute need for energy, and if the energy is too expensive, then that cuts the bottom line of the farm. So every farmer is interested in inexpensive energy, am I right?
Yeah, actually, that's, again, one of our target is farmers and ranchers, but try and get the point across that we actually do much more. We do a lot of small businesses for energy because they have the same bottom line problems as a farmer does, is trying to minimize their costs. And, of course, energy is a big chunk of that in Hawaii with our high energy costs that we have per kilowatt. So our programs are geared toward the rural sector, whether you're ag or non-ag.
What kind of programs do you fund, Tim?
Well, kind of a step back a bit. Our agency, Rural Development, we're a development bank. We serve rural communities, so we are, I think I heard one time, we're like the 14th largest bank in the U.S. when you put our portfolio together. We finance housing programs, single-family and multifamily, community programs, which includes hospitals and libraries, community infrastructure, such as water and sewer programs. And also we have business and rural and energy development. And our energy programs falls under our business sector. And we provide grants, we provide direct loans where the USDA is the loan officer, and we provide guaranteed loans where we guarantee a loan from a commercial bank. Those are our three main products. And our energy programs falls in all three of those areas. And one of the things that we're trying to get across also is in our outreach efforts is that people think of USDA and think of agriculture. They also think of our programs and think of grant only. And we do have some grants, but most of our programs are in either a guaranteed loan or a direct loan in financing these.
Are you competitive in the loans? Are your rates better than commercial banks?
Well, they are, but we're at the spectrum where we don't compete with commercial banks because we finance what they can't or won't.
Okay.
And that's oftentimes they'll ask for a guarantee. It may be a project that is fairly new, a new business or a new operation, or there's some uncertainty with the technology. And so they'll come to us and say, you know, we want to minimize and mitigate the risk. Would you guarantee this project?
What about the State Department of Agriculture? They have a loan program. We had them on the show a few months ago. My recollection is that it was not a very big loan program, and I wonder how it compares with the USDA loan program.
Well, they're more focused, the State Department of Agriculture is more toward ag production expenses. If you're a farmer and you need to buy seed or fuel for your tractor or harvesting equipment, that's where you go to the State Department of Ag. You come to us if you want to put a PV system up, or if you want to do energy efficiency pumps on your farm, or if you want to, you know, look at putting a value-added processing plant on your farm. That's when you come to us. So we don't compete with anybody. We fill a niche in the areas where we can plug in our financing programs.
So who would you fund, Tim? I mean, you said it's not necessarily farmers. It can go beyond that. So what's kind of your niche? I mean, who can come and ask you for money and get it?
Well, just to give an example, some of our for our Rural Energy for America program, where we provide a loan and grant for energy projects, we funded a yoga manufacturing company on Maui, which is an off-grid project. We funded a surf shop in Maui also that put up PV on their retail operation. Same with Kona side. Jack's Diving Locker, we put up a PV system and did energy efficiency projects. We've done on Molokai, we put up the PV system on the Friendly Isle Market and also on the Molokai drugstore.
We talk a lot.
So those are just some of the examples that we've done that are non-ag related, but they're rural related.
So is all of Hawaii considered rural? I mean, where does your jurisdiction end in terms of funding? Is it
Well, there's
everybody in
another
Hawaii?
good question because we have 40-plus programs that we administer,
Wow.
and unfortunately, we have 40-plus different definitions probably of what rural is. And so unfortunately, for this energy program, the Rural Energy for America program, everything except for downtown Honolulu is eligible as considered rural. So you get outside toward Pearl City, you go outside basically, I think the hill that you were talking about driving over and everything on the other side would be eligible energy programs, but everything in downtown Honolulu would not be.
Is Kaka'ako downtown Honolulu?
It certainly is. Back in the middle.
It's on the outskirts of Honolulu, downtown Honolulu.
Tim,
We have downtown is a pretty big area in our definition.
Okay.
And so basically what we look for in the specific definition is anything with a 50,000 or less population with a census designated place, or CDP,
okay.
which is the census component.
So it's the
definition.
size, the population size.
Yeah.
Tim, I've got a question. This is Ray. If I wanted to see what was available, where would I go? Who would I talk to? Do I need a lawyer with me? Do I need my banker with me? What is the routine where
It's
you normally get your customers?
www.where'smycheck.gov.
Where's my
Where's
check?
my check? Got it.
That's good.
I'm kidding. Actually, we do have a website. We have an energy matrix on our website. It's www.usda.gov/energy/matrix/home. And that gives you our one-stop shop at our national website for all of our energy programs, not just at USDA Rural Development, but with Farm Service Agency and the Biomass Crop Assistance Program, the National Food and Agriculture, the NEFA biomass grants, the Natural Resources Conservation programs for energy efficiency on farms. Again, we cover a pretty broad energy program with USDA, and again, not just the agency that I work for.
Well, I mean, this raises questions about, how the federal government is organized over it. I guess the Department of Agriculture has to go way back into the 19th century.
Yeah, the People's Department that was created by President Abraham Lincoln. We had our 150th anniversary just a couple of years ago.
I hope you had a party for that one.
We did. We had some organic produce.
Perfect. Anyway, so, and so the operative word then has evolved into being rural. If it's rural, the Department of Agriculture wants to cover it and help it.
Yep.
So it's really anything that happens rural.
Correct.
I think that's an interesting piece of American history, actually.
Well, you can trace a lot of our programs, especially our housing program where we do single-family mortgages. And people wonder why the USDA is involved with that, but it gets back to the Depression era when the farmers had substandard housing in the Midwest, and of course the big Dust Bowl and the Great Depression, and they were living in substandard conditions. So instead of Congress back then said, well, we're not going to give you the money, but we can loan it to you to build yourself a house that's decent, safe, and sanitary. And oh, by the way, you don't have any electricity out there, so we can help you form an electric cooperative to get electricity out there. And oh, by the way, you don't have telephone, so we'll help you put telephone cooperative together so you can have some phone service. And oh, by the way, you don't have fresh water, so we can help with financing fresh water.
That's good.
And by the way, you don't have any place to dispose of your sewers, so we'll help you with the sewage system. And so that's how our programs really got started, was back in the Depression when there was a lot of need in rural areas.
Yeah, so, but that seems to apply even in areas which are only relatively rural, like Kaka'ako.
It's all relative, though, isn't it? Because you go to somewhere in South Dakota, and Kaka'ako looks like they're a major city.
Yeah, really. Now, so, and then, you know, for example, energy. So there is a separate Department of Energy. It was not, I think, Abraham Lincoln did not create the Department of Energy.
No, actually, I think it was President Carter that did that.
Okay, there you go.
One of our first energy crises.
Yes.
When a department, the Federal Department of Energy was stood up. And again, we don't compete, but we do collaborate with Department of Energy on a lot of the programs. that we
Tell us how
administer.
that works, because, I mean, it seems to me that whether you're rural or urban, the Department of Energy would have, you know, first interest in developing energy as opposed to the Department of Agriculture.
Well, the Department of Energy pretty much does the research funding. We're a commercialization agency. We don't fund research. We don't fund anything other than if it's on the shelf or it's commercial, we can put a project in because we need to have results. But Department of Energy is more, they do the R&D, they collect the data, they look at the big picture, and then on some of the programs, we actually collaborate with them on delivering it. Because they use our field structure in rural development. We're one of the few agencies that still has field offices. And we have staff out in the rural areas working on our projects versus some of the federal agencies that are headquartered in San Francisco for Hawaii or Denver for Hawaii or Washington, D.C. And our state office is here in Hilo, and we have offices on Maui, Molokai, Kauai, and also in the Federated States of Micronesia, Guam, American Samoa, and the rest of the Western Pacific.
So when we say you are the state or assistant state director, are you covering
Yeah, I
all
keep
these
myself
areas?
pretty busy.
Yes. Well, what's it like? I mean, if I'm looking to take your job, Tim, what do I have to know and what do I have to do every day?
Well, you have to have at least 7 different hats and basically work from about 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. because that's when the afternoons we cover our Western Pacific area. And you have to know enough to get you in trouble on 40 different programs.
Do you travel a lot? Do you go to the whole region or to Washington, D.C. or San Francisco, wherever your home headquarters are?
I try not to. I've been around long enough that we have staff that are either out in the field already or staff that are more in tune with the different programs than I am. So I kind of just hang back in Hilo and go to Oahu quarterly to hang with you guys at the energy policy meetings and go and then come back to Hilo.
So
we do a lot of telecommunications with our staff.
So what do they do in terms of all these 40 grants or programs and loans? How does one who wants to get a PV on their roof or to get their sewers hooked up, how do they go about getting your grant? Do they talk to you or they just send it to Washington and Washington will make that assessment? How does that actually work on the ground?
And if you feel you need to give us a telephone number, you should, because after all, Hawaiian Electric Company just gave us a telephone number.
A direct
My
call.
direct number is 808-933-8313 if anybody would ever wants to call and talk about it. And that's probably the best way is that it is hard to manage going through our programs. Our website isn't the most user-friendly yet. We're working on that. And it's difficult for someone coming from the outside to figure out what the best fit is for a project. So we can take a look at a project and hopefully help them find the right solution for that, whether it's one of our programs or whether it's a different agency's program.
So you can walk a person through what all
Yeah.
your programs are. I can tell you my problem and you can see whether you can help me.
Yes, I think we can do that very well. And if we have a program that can help you, then we have the staff that can walk you through that process, whether we do the loan or we do the grant, or we work with the bank and help make that happen.
And now the dark side. You have a portfolio of loans out there, And I guess part of that job you were discussing is to manage that portfolio. And that means sometimes you have to actually collect.
Every month and every year on our payments, we have a very low delinquency rate.
Really? Good to know.
Yes.
Why do you think that is?
Because the people who actually do a good job underwriting, and the banks that we work with do a good job underwriting. They're not sending us the junk that's going to be not paying. But we have, and again, the people we work with have pride in their projects, and they have the ethics and the work commitment to make these projects work.
Yeah.
So we have a very low delinquency rate all across the board and all across the nation in our programs. I think even though we have a higher risk portfolio than a commercial bank, I think we have a lot less delinquency than a commercial bank does.
I think one other factor that may be in play is that I recall having some contact with the Production Credit Association years ago, and the agent on the Big Island for the Production Credit Association is still a friend of mine, and he would go and talk to the farmers. That's another organization that lends money to farmers, or it did.
Yeah, they're one of our partners as well.
Is that right?
Yep.
And what struck me then and now is that your rate of delinquency is lower if you talk to your borrowers. If you go around and see what they're doing and give them some advice and generally stay close with them, then you have a better time of it. And that includes banks too, but certainly government agencies. Is that your experience, Tim?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We get to know our borrowers, and we have a 40-year loan. We have a 40-year relationship.
That's great.
That's great.
Longer than marriages.
It's a partnership. That's great. And
It is.
And that kind of partnership makes for good government, in my opinion. Yeah. So Ray, it's come that time when we call upon you to summarize the essence of this discussion and to make any other statement involving Hawaii Energy and the Gigawatt Moment as you may wish.
Hey Jay, could I make 2 plugs for 2 of our programs?
yes.
Oh, absolutely, Tim, absolutely.
Okay, we have our Rural Energy for America program, which is open now for grants up to 25%. We have a deadline of next Monday, 20,000 under grants, and then the next deadline would be in April of 2016. And we also have a high energy cost grant program, which is a grant program that's geared for helping rural low-income communities reduce their energy costs, and that has a deadline of December 14th, 2015. And in that grant program, there's $10 million available nationwide. So it's a national competition, and because of our unique area of having high energy costs, we're one of the few states that are eligible for it. So we get a pretty good return on that program. And it kind of contradicts what I previously said, that we have very few grant dollars. This is one of the programs that has a lot of grant dollars. It's the high energy cost grant, and they can contact me for further information if anybody wants to.
Could you
find
give
out
your
more.
number again, Tim, slowly?
808-933-8313.
Call Tim for
Yeah, and
energy
if it's 2 o'clock
grants.
in the morning, go to USDA.gov
Correct.
energy/matrix/home. And maybe you can
Correct.
find it there too.
I'll probably take them to 3
But
o'clock
call
to find
Tim.
it, but
Call
they can
Tim.
just call me up and we'll have it.
24/7, call Tim.
Okay, well, thank you for that,
Thanks, Tim.
Okay,
All
Ray,
right,
what do you got
appreciate
to
it.
close?
Okay, Hawaii Energy has just finished up its, as of June 30th, its 6th year in operation as the first
Congratulations.
public benefits fee administrator, the
6
third-party
years.
administrator for the efficiency program for the state. We cover all the islands except Kauai, who has a co-op, so we service the territory that is serviced by Hawaiian Electric. And we charge a small fee. It's charged on a person's electric bill. And we take that fee and we run a program that helps people to stop using or stop wasting energy. This year, we're quite proud of what our customers have done. With the money that we had, we were able to top off the 6th year with just a little bit shy of $1 billion saved.
Wow.
by our customers over the last 6 years.
That's great,
That
Ray.
is really
And, and we did some calculations. We're going to send out a news blast tomorrow to people.
So
who
this
are-
is a scoop.
This is a scoop. We're going to send out a news blast, and very shortly thereafter, hopefully first part of next week, we will have our annual report up and online, so you can come to hawaiienergy.com and see all the dirty details. But basically, it's after 6 years, it's 965 million in verified bill savings for the customers. That's about 3 billion kilowatt hours saved, and that's equivalent to filling the Aloha Stadium twice with oil.
Wow.
So we've
Wow.
saved the Aloha Stadium being filled up twice with oil, or it's 5 years worth of PV generation with the generation we've got right now in the islands, or 90,000 electric vehicles driven for a year with the savings.
We're having a fair amount of
Yeah.
interference here.
I'm taking mine.
Can we do anything about that? Okay.
Well, I will wrap up by saying, thank you very much. Look for our news blast and then look for the annual report, because it's really got a story to tell, and we're happy that there are many, many people taking part in the program now.
It's great.
Thank you, Ray
Congratulations.
Starling. Thank you, co-founder, co-chair of HEPF, the Hawaii Policy Forum, Sharon Moriwaki. And thank you so much for joining us, Tim O'Connell, USDA. It's been a great
Aloha.
discussion. We'll talk.